So the Florida housing crisis continues to unfold as many residents feel that there's no hope of an affordable future in their home state of Florida, and longtime snowbirds and full-time homeowners alike are feeling the crunch as the cost of living continues to rise. Hey, welcome back, folks. Today I want to share with you some comments that I've been reading and talk to you guys a little bit about what's happening down here in Florida, get you guys ready, get you prepared. I know a lot of folks out there are anxiously waiting to see how this is going to unfold, but more so importantly right now is the current situation, the dire situation, the looming threat as we are on the brink, the cusp of a drastic change and transition when it comes to how real estate agents behave as their income is affected, if not completely turned upside down, potentially wiped out. With the recent ruling, potential future changes coming handed down to the National Association of Realtors, the MLS system, and of course, commissions. Now let's get right into it. So the first comment I got here says, this is such an important topic. I have family in Florida and in Texas, and I tell people all the time not to fall for the no income tax narrative. Both of these states have no income tax, and my relatives always complain about their absurdly high property tax, sales tax, and other various fees. You have to look at the total tax and fee picture, not just income tax. It's a really important one because this is a push, this is a ploy, this is a marketing technique and strategy to pull in potential buyers into the state of Florida, especially coming from states like New York and California that have extremely high income tax as well as property tax. Not to mention, you got some influential folks out there like Kevin O'Leary, Grant Cardone, well known in the real estate space, private, multifamily, single family, residential, and commercial, that are all steering the ship post this New York City Trump verdict. But they're right, you do have to look at the total tax picture. But the interesting thing about that is right now, there are some folks who are really looking at this total tax picture, and Florida is looking really, really attractive to them, especially if they're coming from states like New York and California. It says here that we're retired snowbirds and bought a condo in Cape Coral in 2013. For 7 to 8 years, it was very affordable and definitely much cheaper than renting for the winter season. But the last 2 to 3 years, well, has seen steady HOA increases, massive insurance increases, as well as rapidly escalating realty tax and services rates, which has made the advantages of ownership a lot less advantageous. With the ever increasing threat of weather events combined with the above plus a slowing economy and persistent inflation, we decided a number of months ago to list our property for sale. Luckily, we sold it in December, and any return trips to Florida will be as renters only. And that one's pretty interesting because the fact that they said that they luckily sold it says a lot. And yes, there are steady HOA increases, massive insurance increases, as well as rapidly escalating realty tax and service rates, as well as inflation. And I was actually having a conversation yesterday or the day before with Chris Igo, and we were talking about HOAs and the conversation and discussion that is often had in regard to HOAs as potential home buyers in Florida are weighing their options, and quite often including no homeowners association in their want list for the property, the home that they're looking to buy, or condo, which we're going to talk about condos in a minute because condos are another challenge. Condos are facing their own crisis. But luckily sold in December says a lot. And this has a huge impact, or even better yet, will have a huge impact as we see the changes taking effect with the National Association of Realtors and the MLS system. I'll give you guys an example, and it would be, for instance, it's all about marketing and visibility. And there was a restaurant here in Florida, and I don't remember the name of it, but they actually petitioned and they went to the local news and they tried to get so much support and help because their business was suffering. It was going downhill. And they had a great business. They had an amazing restaurant that people really wanted to go to, But unfortunately, the road that led to it, that was right in front of it, was under construction. Therefore, they would lose out on a ton of just regular foot traffic, regular visibility. So, how does this relate to your home sales? Well, unfortunately, there's talk and consideration and speculation and anger and anguish over the MLS listing system that could potentially be that road frontage in front of your thriving restaurant that could suffocate you and cause you to starve, no pun intended, and completely destroy and ruin your business by eliminating your ability to have exposure and visibility from the average person just walking by. So if you go on to a website, for instance, Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, Realtor, wherever you go to search for your properties and take a look at what's available for sale or even for rent, we'll talk about that in a minute. What you see isn't necessarily what you can get. And what happens is, or could possibly happen even more in the future, is a little bit of a suppression and restriction or shadow banning of sorts, where properties aren't being shown because the MLS or whoever manages and runs the MLS will determine and dictate which ones will get the most visibility as it relates to the profitability based on the seller and buyer commissions. So to be able to sell your property, luckily, means that not only did you have a price that was acceptable to potential buyers, but you also had an opportunity to even be seen, to even enter into negotiation, which some folks are seeing their homes sitting on the market for weeks, months, maybe even over a year. And what do? They're not getting any showings, they're not getting any offers, and then they start lowering their price. Was their price too high to begin with? That's a good question. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But does lowering the price increase their opportunity? Well, if no one ever sees the listing, then it doesn't matter what your price is. And essentially, you could be shooting yourself in the foot by lowering your price when really the price isn't the problem, and the visibility or lack thereof is the reason why no one's requesting any showings and no one's submitting any offers. This, folks, also comes down to the quality of the representation. Who's going to bat for you? Who's advocating for you in your property? Yes, you're a real estate agent, you're a realtor. They're not all created equal, but we'll talk more about that coming up. As far as HOAs and homeowners associations, yeah, they can be a bit of a drag, but they do have their purpose. Think of it as, for instance, speed limits and stop signs. Would you want to live in a neighborhood that had no speed limits and no stop signs? You see what I'm saying? And lastly, they say, we decided a number of months ago to list our property for sale, and luckily we sold it in December. And any return trips to Florida will be as renters only. It's funny, as I'm reading that, I'm literally walking through a pretty heavily rental market-based community here in Florida. And I can tell you guys right now, I was actually surprised. I expected late March to start seeing folks rolling in. But today's Saturday, February 24th. Yeah. And yesterday, Friday, February 23rd, I was blown away. Folks are already here. Folks are already starting to pile in. And maybe we will begin to take a little collective census here of this volume, this increase as these folks show up. And what did it was 1 degree. I think it was just 1 degree. Literally on Friday, we had our first 70-degree day. Crossing over from the 60s into the 70s, I think was enough to drive folks into Florida, down here, and it's only just begun. Renters, that is. And these are short-term renters, because the latest news from just 2 days ago shares this unbelievable headline of, when I go to take a shower, I cry. Families across America struggle to pay rent as low-income tenants see increases of up to 40%. Now, I've actually heard stories of increases of homeowners insurance going up 40%. I've heard stories of increases of car insurance going up 40%. And now we're hearing stories of rent going up 40%. Now, granted, there are some headlines that will paint a picture of rent prices declining, but much like the 1 degree difference that would drive people to spend a quick 3-day weekend, take Friday off, Saturday, Sunday, head back, go to work Monday, that 1 degree difference, well, they'll use that same mathematical calculation, that 1% or even 0.1% drop, decline in rent prices to present the headline that rent prices are falling. But we all know the truth. And yeah, sure, maybe some rent prices are coming down. But with rent prices coming down, fees and other ancillary costs associated with renting go up, as well as decreases in income earning and higher taxes. Now, I'm not just talking about Florida, I'm talking about across the country. But at the same time, perhaps think about it like this. Let's just say your rent goes up 10%. Isn't great, but far better than 40%, right? But let's just say your rent goes up 10%, but you suffer some form of decline, drop, dip in your income and your earnings. Well, let's just say your income drops 10%. Well, let's just use simple math here and say now you're up 20%. You see what I'm saying? What if your income drops 20%? You know, what if you're a part of a company that experiences layoffs and furloughs and terminations and job cuts, or deductions in pay in order for you to stay employed, reductions, eliminations of bonus structure, reduced commissions, realtors, you guys know what I'm talking about. All these impacts it's the bottom line. Again, much like property taxes and realtor fees and this, that, and the other, it's the total that goes into everything.
What's up, man?
What's going on?
Doing all right?
Yeah, you about to run?
Already did.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah, well, 7 miles tempo run.
Hey man, good morning.
Morning. Filming?
Trying to.
Gotcha.
Yeah, doing a little bit of a real estate housing market update.
Oh, okay.
How do you feel about it?
Real estate housing market?
You guys own, right?
Yes.
How long have you?
4 years.
Have you seen any increases in your
Insurance?
insurance?
Yeah, that $300, like, he's got like 15% or something.
15%.
Yeah, pretty much.
Who do you have?
Oh man, I can't. My wife knows who.
Okay.
It is, Union Home Mortgage.
Did they make you do like a?
Well, we've been bouncing around to
Okay.
a couple different lenders. So.
Oh, okay. Did they make you do any changes, like your roof or your AC or anything?
Nah, we already had a new roof when we got the house, and then the AC unit is 10 years old, and we just had to fix it like once. But we're probably coming on that point where it's time to replace the AC unit. So, but yeah, nothing too crazy.
Hey.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
I'll let you get to it.
Yeah, man, good seeing you.
I see.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Well, there you have it, folks. Real world, boots on the ground, insider intel, Florida homeowner seeing an increase in their insurance and, you know, having to grin and bear it. But it's all about the total fee, the total cost structure here. And we can't only look at one piece. These are parts of a whole, okay? These make up the big picture. But the question is, so how do we get ready? How do we get prepared? What's happening? Well, what we have happening is New York is moving to Florida, and fast. Grant Cardone, Kevin O'Leary, they have lit a fire under New York and California and Illinois and so many other states for specific reasons. You guys can fill in the blanks here. And you know what's up. And these folks are tired of it. They've had enough. They no longer want to be associated with loser states. And where are they headed? Texas and Florida. Hollywood is moving to Florida. And I don't consider Jeff Bezos to be Hollywood, but I'll put him in the ranks since he is one of the world's richest men. And they're leaving states that are less than desirable for them and their financial bottom line, and they're coming to Florida. Most recent transplant, breaking the news to his family on TV, Sylvester Stallone. Morning. This after having his daughters trained by Navy SEALs to keep them safe and protected, has decided to ditch the woke state of California, according to Doug in exile, and head down to Florida to try and retain more of his wealth, opposed to pouring it into wasteful and egregiously poorly managed spending for state and local taxes that are designed to theoretically improve the quality of life, although we know that nothing could be furthest from the truth. These are just some of many, folks, as we are about to experience a massive wave coming in to Florida before the National Association of Realtors commissions are canceled, or at least from the norm of what everyone was used to and the standard operating procedures of 5% roughly that would be divvied up between buyers and sellers agents. The wave is coming, folks. This is the precursor. This is the heads up. This is the warning sign to get ready and get prepared, especially if you're a licensed real estate agent, realtor, and also haven't seen the type of income that you would desire or at least require and need to take care of you and your family's personal, financial, household budget and cover your living costs and expenses, because we're about to see one last hurrah, one last run at real estate here before everything changes. And by then, if you haven't caught on and aren't in the loop, aren't connected, aren't in the network, aren't in the circle, then it may be too late at that point. I would expect to see a massive drop and dip and decline in interested people joining into the real estate community, studying, testing, paying their fees and their dues and their insurance to be licensed, to potentially make little to no money in real estate commissions. Hey, real estate agents will have a golden opportunity to pull in big checks and paydays while building new businesses that will service them well into retirement and deliver endless passive income earning potential. The old model of selling real estate is dead, or at least is dying. And I'm sure you can agree. If I have any real estate agents out there, any realtors out there, feel free, chime in. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions, because the writing is on the wall, folks. I had 3 new clients call me yesterday, Friday, at the end of the week, asking how they can get started on YouTube, and for good reason. They all told me the same thing. They all said the same thing. They were tired of getting hosed and bent over by Zillow and these MLS listing websites that basically charge them hundreds of dollars every time that they answer their phones, wasting time talking to and rushing and running around town to show would-be tire kickers homes that they can't afford and ultimately will not buy. And it's getting worse, especially with the influx of calls coming in after seeing interest rates increase to well over 7%. So obviously that there should be no reasonable expectation that increased interest rates will drive interest and demand. All it does is drive curiosity, but won't produce any actual sales. Meanwhile, as you're waiting to make money in commissions on selling real estate, having opportunities of capturing up and grabbing up listings, no one's buying. And inadvertently, no one's selling. Gotta tell you guys, I'll break it to you. Here's the truth. The real buyers, they don't live in Florida. And they're not gonna make an in-person visit for a showing. It's just not gonna happen. They're all over the country. Places that we've already discussed in this video. All over the country in what Kevin O'Leary and Grant Cardone have described as loser cities and loser states, okay? So guess where they're all planning to move and relocate to? Florida. Prime opportunity, folks. But they're not going to go about it in a traditional way, nor are agents going to continue to pour out money into these Zillows of the world to not get a return, especially with commissions being questionable at best. The good news is the folks coming in have the money. They have the money and the income to support living in Florida. Now, all they need is you to make it happen. Think about it. You're moving from a state like California, which is quite possibly the most, if not top 3, most expensive places to live in America right now. Moving to Florida, eliminating state income tax, just like Sylvester Stallone, just like Jeff Bezos, just like many others with extreme wealth, high income earners, they know the deal. They know what's up. Follow the smart money. But it's not gonna last long, okay? Because if you're slow to react or late to the party, it's gonna be like a similar situation, an instance of what we experienced during the craziness of the pandemic of the 2020s, when you couldn't even get into an open house listing appointment because of the extremely long line of people waiting for the opportunity to get their hands on whatever was available. It was a time of feast or famine. Even though home prices were up, interest rates were down, the money was flowing, people were buying, some agents made hay. Some agents crushed it. Many more didn't. And they didn't survive. And they didn't make any money. And you know why? It's because they weren't aware of what was going on and what was happening before. And they didn't know how to capitalize and execute on it during. Therefore, after, they're licking their wounds and scratching their heads and wondering, where did I go wrong? Don't be an unprepared real estate agent for the next wave in the next cycle. This is an unprecedented time, and the changes that are happening, we probably won't see again for years. The market is changing, the game is changing. Feel free, folks, contact me. My info is down below in the description. I can show you guys how this works. I can show you who's already doing it, and I can show you how to get started. Give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. You guys take care, be safe. I'll see you on the next one.